Hello, everyone, and welcome to Super Podcast Action Committee episode 135. Andrew here, along with E. Zachary Knight. Hi,
Hello,
Zachary.
everyone. How are
And
you doing?
hello, Matthew in the chat. Matthew is all alone in the chat, so come on, folks.
Matthew's all alone. Sorry,
Oh
we just watched
no!
Shrek.
With the first one?
No, the second one.
I'm one of those who who enjoys the second one more.
Yeah. No, the second one's really good. Yeah.
Three pretty roundly sucked. It had elements that I enjoyed, but actually, it had a lot of elements I quite enjoyed, but overall, it just doesn't work. And
Yeah.
four was actually surprisingly good. I don't know. I probably need to revisit that movie. I'm not sure if my mom and I liked it so much because our expectations were nil at that point after the third one. But
Yeah. Well, the fourth one, I have a big problem with the time frame of the fourth one. Because he gets 24 hours as an ogre, okay, and he goes to, he starts off in his swamp, then he goes to the dragon guarded fortress, where Fiona was, and then he goes to far, far away, and then he goes to wherever Fiona is in the forest, and it's like, when you look back at the previous movies, it took several at least 2 days to travel to the dragon guarded keep where she was, and then when they're going too far, far away, I believe the montage of "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" spans over a couple of days, and so it's like, okay, how in the world did he manage to get to all three of these locations before nightfall? Yeah, in that one day. So,
yeah, I tend to have problems with that. It's a nitpicky thing, but it's something I notice in especially spy movies and James Bond movies where there's some bomb that's counting down. And it's
mhm.
like, oh my gosh, we only have 12 seconds before this thing explodes. We better get out of here. And it's, like 75 seconds of film time, of actual real world movie time before the bomb goes off. But in in world, it's like that had to have been like at least 5 minutes.
Yeah.
If you
Well,
watch the Agent Carter show, the first or second episode, a building explodes, and it's like you've got 30 seconds, and she has to run all the way outside of a very large complex, get in a car, and start driving away. I'm like, I'm sorry, you died a long time ago,
yeah.
because
Well, there's a YouTube channel called Cinema Sins, for those out there who don't know it, but that is one of the most common, or that's a very common sin for movies, is if they give you, if the movie, somebody in the movie says you have this amount of time before something happens, he will time the event. It's like from the moment they say that to when the event actually happens. He will time it, and if it's not that exact amount of time, it gets a sin.
Now, there's something to be said for kind of slowing down time. It's like it's only 5 seconds, but it seems like an eternity. There's
Or it's
a
like,
stylistic way of
cuts
doing that.
between multiple scenes. Like, you've got Group A here, and Group B is something's going on simultaneously. When you're going back and forth, and you're kind of jumping back
Yeah,
and forth in time, to account for what is going on in that time. That makes sense. But
yeah,
when you've got 30 seconds and it takes you a minute and a half to do whatever it is you're doing, you've got something going on wrong.
yeah, exactly. It's not the presentation so much as the Peggy. No human being could get from point A to where to far enough away in 30 seconds. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
why did you make it 30 seconds? I mean, why not just make it 120 seconds? Or,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's 30 seconds is, oh my gosh, and 2 minutes is like, oh, we've got plenty of time. It's not as suspenseful, I guess. I don't know.
I guess.
But, I have beaten Pokemon Shuffle, the free-to-play Nintendo Pokemon game, puzzle game. Kind
All
of.
right. Kind of.
Well, there seems to only be 150 puzzles or 150 main Pokemon puzzle challenges in the game, because once I beat 150, there was no 151. So
Yeah.
I guess, and I have not spent a penny. I guess I could go back and S rank everything.
Hmm.
I have the first 75 S ranked, so I have the
Yeah.
first half S ranked and probably like half of the second half. So I probably have about 75% of all the battles S ranked. Um, and the more S ranks you get, pardon me. Oh goodness, you unlock expert mode, which instead of being limited by the number of moves you can make,
Yeah.
because most of them are, you have to rack up enough points to beat this Pokemon in 15 moves or 20 moves. This time it's you have to rack up enough points to beat this Pokemon in 1 minute or 2 minutes, and some of them are 15 seconds, uh, which is an interesting twist. So I may do that. It's a fun game to, especially if I'm working. It's a good let's take a break for a couple minutes type of game.
Yeah.
Um, I also, since I finished Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, which I finished the guide rather, and if you are looking for treasure chests or looking for a video walkthrough for any of the 48 challenges, check out the wiki guide on IGN. I wrote it myself. So I went back to Valkyria Chronicles, and 2 or 3 weeks ago when we were talking about that, someone in the chat said, "Did you get to the tank yet?" Um, You'll know when you get there. Yes, I got to the tank. It was actually the very next level, and it's this gigantic train-sized tank. And it's one of the things I really like about that game, because the game does a really wonderful job of mixing things up level to level. It's not just, shoot through all the bad guys to get to the other side of the map to capture the flag.
Yeah.
This one is there's this giant armored tank that's going for your base, and you have to stop it. And what you have to do is use some of your guys to destroy the environment, to put rubble in front of the train, to trick it into shooting the rubble out of the way so that it cools off its radiators, which exposes its radiators, so you can get your guys to climb up the sides of the train and shoot out the radiators.
I never once had my guys climb. I used lancers and my Edelweiss.
You shot at it from below?
Yeah.
Well,
it's like I shot at it from strategic locations. Like I found nice areas where my guys were blocked from direct fire from the tank, but they could still shoot the radiators when they were exposed. And but yeah, I was not about to get up there and climb.
I am a point blank guy because I have such horrible luck with accuracy. I swear, the people who drive my tank are blind. My snipers are all blind. I mean, sometimes you whiff.
Are you updating your equipment?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
All my guys are level 9 or 10 now. I'm, upping the, buying the new equipment, going to R&D and making the new equipment and stuff. But I'll shoot at something and it, like 4 or 5 times in a row. I waste an entire turn because he just whiff. I'm like, that's why I drive up right next to something and shoot at point blank. It's like, come on, guys. The only thing I probably would criticize the game for right now, other than being maybe a bit too story heavy, because there does come a time where you're like, okay, shut up and let me play the game. But minor thing. Is on on many of the maps there's an enemy with an actual name, like Larry the Invincible, or Harry the Iron Wall, or something like that. And if you take these people out, you are awarded a new weapon.
Yeah.
And these weapons all suck, so there's really no point. They are all terrible.
I know. I got a couple of weapons towards the beginning of the game, and they were worse than the base equipment.
Yeah.
and it's like equipment that I hadn't even upgraded yet. These things were worse than it. I'm like, well, I'm not bothering with any more stealing equipment from any bad guys now, and from now on, it's just like
It's the compromise is way too great. Now the weapons are roundly more powerful. For example, I have like 2 or 3 new special sniper rifles, and they are more powerful, but they have half the range. Literally half the range. And I'm like, that's not something I'm willing to compromise for my snipers who can't hit the broadside of a barn anyway. I'm not having a problem with power. I hit someone in the head, they die. I don't need it any more powerful. I'm not taking. I'm not taking. It's half the range. All the new weapons are completely useless. But it's still a really fun game, and it keeps adding new stuff. Like halfway through, I don't know how many missions there are, but they just. I read there's one where the princess gets kidnapped, and you have to chase her kidnap vehicle through a city before it gets to the dock and escapes. And it's like, wow, it's a really cool scenario.
Yeah, that one was cool. I was trying to remember which one that was, but now I remember it because it's like the streets are all grid based, and there's stuff blocking certain paths, and yeah, it's
yeah. So there's an armored car, but you're not allowed to use the princess is inside, so you're not allowed to use grenades or anti-tank rounds. So you end up having to shoot the radiator with your stormtroopers or shock troopers or scouts, because I think they say you can't use your lancers either.
Yeah, well, that's because they're explosive weapons.
The anti-tank lances. But anyway, once you complete that scenario, it opens up. You start earning awards and medals, which so far don't mean anything, but it's still fun.
Well, I think depending on certain awards you give you new orders and things like that.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so if you get a certain number of awards or certain awards at certain points, you can get a new order for your troops and stuff. So that's something that makes that useful.
Yeah. One thing, and very slight spoilers actually major spoilers for a game that's kind of old now, but
it's got 2 sequels, people.
Yeah.
Not that you would probably play them because they're in PSP, and I think the third one's not even localized to the US yet.
Yeah. If you are an American who plays primarily American-made stuffs, like video games and watching movies, there is a character death in the game that you probably will be a little surprised by. And it made me think about, it's one of the reasons I like foreign and specifically Japanese entertainment is because people can die. Not that I need people to die, but, when you watch, the Ghostbusters cartoon, you're not really worried about any of the Ghostbusters dying. They're all going to be fine. You don't worry about any of the Ninja Turtles kicking the bucket. They're all going to be fine. So there's really no tension to a lot of, as much as I love a lot of these cartoons, there's no tension because everyone is going to be fine. They're not even going to kill off April O'Neil or Casey Jones or anyone. No one's going to die. Everyone's going to be fine. Japanese cartoons, all bets are off. Yeah. Anyone can die at any time, even the main character. So,
I think that's also one of the draws that people like about Joss Whedon is because they know that somebody's going to die and it's going to be somebody that you care about. So yeah.
If you know it's from Japan and you're familiar with this type, you probably Matthew is saying he saw it coming a mile away, but that's the thing I really like about this entertainment is because people can die, and it makes it's more involving. It allows tension. American cartoons, you're like, it may be exciting, it may be fun, but it's not. You're not really worried about anybody. Japanese or some other foreign cartoons and shows, you're like, is everyone going to be okay? How are they going to get out of this one? Someone could actually die. So, yeah. So I do like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, Valkyria Chronicles. I think I'm on chapter 11, somewhere around there. I think. Anyway,
Yeah.
Really,
You're,
really
you're
quite.
right around where I am, so I need to finish that game.
Yeah.
I keep getting distracted with other games and keep meaning to go back to it and finish it. But
Yeah. So you yeah, she just kicked the bucket. So another thing that was kind of weird about the game is in like chapter 6 they introduced this winged pig mascot,
hmm
and then it never shows up again until like chapter 10 or so. I thought they just forgot about him, but then he pops up again in a cutscene. I'm like, oh, there he is. I thought he'd be a member of my crew, and I'd get to send him out to snuggle the bad guy to death or something.
see,
Maybe
I'm
you get
waiting
the
for the
point.
pig to sacrifice itself because I remember Illusion of Gaia for
Hmm.
the Super Nintendo that had a pig in it. And then at a certain point, the pig sacrifices itself to save you and your friends because you were about to be eaten by some bunch of starving cannibals or whatever. And the pig sacrifices itself so that they could have something to eat and not have to eat you. And so that
Yeah.
was a sad moment with the pig. So
I
and
also
then
kind of hamstring myself because I rarely include Rosie or Largo in my teams. Largo because I have no interest in him, and Rosie because she's a nasty bigot and I don't like her. Even though she's kind of turning over a new leaf, I have very little patience for people like that, and I don't need her on the team.
See, I use all the story characters. That's my thing. I like using the story characters, and Rosie and Largo and Nancy. That's the scout. But
Alicia.
Alicia, yeah, I use all of them. Every battle I use them. It's a shame that there's no engineer or sniper story character, um, but still.
That's true.
Uh, but yeah, I use the story characters just because I've invested a lot in them early on in the game before I started messing around with the other characters.
Mhm.
But yeah, the bigoted thing that's really annoying at times, and it's just like shut up, stop
Yeah,
picking on his little sister. Just
yeah.
because she has dark hair doesn't mean she's evil.
I
This
know.
isn't a
Well,
Disney movie.
I mean, it's part of the story, and
Yeah.
there's some heavy stuff in there. There's one mission that is tasking you to blow up the bridge struts to drop a train into a canyon at a um,
hmm
camp where they had. It's almost a concentration camp where they're mining ragnite or whatever it's called, and these Darksons they're called. They have bluish blue hair, and it's like
Yeah.
there's some legend that the Darksons were responsible for a calamity of some sort. So now some people are bigoted towards um, a race of people whose ancestors like 1,000 years ago may have done something, which is totally the fault of
Yeah.
generations and generations ahead. So that they round these people up into camps, and it's like, oh no, the good guys are the player's side is winning, so they essentially shove them all in a shack and then light it on fire. It's like, holy, well, that's a little dark. Damn. Um, a little on the nose, but still pretty. It's still a fun game. It works.
Yes, definitely. And it's got me excited for Codename Steam. I really want to get a 3DS now and play that because Codename Steam plays very similar to
Hmm.
Valkyria Chronicles.
Yeah, I played the
So,
demo.
yeah. So that'll be one of the first games I get when I suddenly get around to buying a 3DS.
All
So if
right.
anybody out there wants to send me money, to buy a 3DS.
Yeah, as some of you may or may not know, my 3DS was purchased in part with donations from some of my YouTube fans. So what have you been playing this week?
This week has been a mix of Minecraft, Wild Arms, and Link to the Past, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. I've been working on the game that my brother and I are working on, and I was just like, you know what? our game is going to play similar to Link to the Past and other games of those sorts. And I was like, well, let's pull out Link to the Past and play it again. And it's a fun game to return to. And yeah, I know where everything is. I know how to. I know what to expect and everything. So it's like I've played this numerous times, and so it's just a lot of fun to revisit every now and then. But it's been a few years since I last played it, so I'm trying to do things out of order if I can, and it's kind of hard because some of the stuff requires certain items and certain levels, and it's just like, darn it. It's like I wanted to as soon as I got into the dark world, because you got the light world and the dark world. As soon as I got into the dark world, I was like, okay, now I can go rescue the blacksmith's brother and go and upgrade my sword. And it's like, no, you can't do that. You need the Titan Mitt, which you can't get until level 4, which you need items from the other levels in order to get to. And it's like, crap. Yeah. Because I remember the very first Legend of Zelda, you could do quite a bit of stuff before you even went into level 1. Like, you could get enough hearts and items in order to get the white sword, the first upgraded sword, and you could get that, the bombs, the bow. Well, the bow you get in the first level, but you could get the bombs, the blue candle, the blue ring, and the large shield, and the first upgrade to the sword. You can get all of this stuff before you even go into level 1, and that's what I like that about the first Legend of Zelda. And they kind of locked you into a linear path in later Zeldas, and that's a little disappointing. But it's not a fully linear path. It's just they've made it so that especially in Link to the Past, certain things are you have to go in a certain sequence of events in order to be able to do certain things, like upgrade your sword and stuff, and that's a little disappointing, but not too bad. And then Wild Arms, I'm just slowly advancing in that, and haven't made significant progress, but I've got to a point now where I can go to one of 2 dungeons, and so I'm just kind of playing around and going wherever I can before I decide to tackle a dungeon here. But upgrading my guy's equipment and stuff. But yeah, Link Between Worlds, I'm definitely looking forward to playing that when I get around to getting a 3DS. So yeah, but yeah, it's definitely something that I'm looking forward to, because I like Link to the Past, and Link Between Worlds looks like it's going to be a really good revisit to that style of game. And I've really missed that top-down 2D look and style for the Zelda games. So Twilight Princess and Wind Waker and Ocarina of Time, they're fun games, but I like that top-down Legend of Zelda, the best. But yeah, that's been my week. Nothing too exciting, and nothing much to dwell upon.
Well, I actually watched more of Powerpuff Girls, which I have the entire series, and I watched season 4, and 4 actually had a couple episodes that I had not seen before, and then I watched season 5, and I think all of them were new to me, and I've seen a couple episodes of season 6.
Isn't season 5 or no? Okay, because I know they're making new episodes now.
They're making a new Powerpuff Girls series. It's I think for 2016 though.
Okay.
But season 5, holy biscuits! Did they just went really experimental in that season? There's an episode that is they get sucked into a silent film from the 20s, and it's completely and so the episode goes silent for half of it, and black and white and silent, and they use title cards for the dialogue. There's one episode that is a full-on rock opera, like like Tommy.
Yeah.
They got Jess Harnell to do one of the main singing voices, but most of the actors handle the vocals pretty well. I wish they would have spent more time on that episode because it's not, as a rock opera, it's really not very good, but it does make kind of a unique and interesting episode of Powerpuff Girls. And there are a lot of boy, they just go off the rails in that season and do all kinds of weird stuff. There's a recap episode. If you watch anime, you are familiar with the dreaded recap episode, which in typically 24 to 26 episode series, around episode 12 or 13, they'll have the recap episode, which is a bunch of people sitting around going, "Hey, do you remember when we?" and then it shows clips from earlier in the season. And it's just wasting time.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone hates that, especially people who binge and watch the entire season. It's like, I just watched these episodes this morning. I don't need a recap. And the Powerpuff Girls are sitting in their closet, rummaging through, going through their stuff, and they pull out, "Oh, look at this! This reminds me of the time that we were turned into dogs." And then they show clips from the Kathmandu show, episode, and you're like, "Oh, God, a recap episode. Why in season 5 we get a recap episode?" But very quickly they start remembering things that there were never any episodes for. And it's like, "Hey, you remember the time we traveled into the future and we're boy crazy teenagers?" And it shows the girls in young adult form in a mall gabbing about boys and stuff, and it's the weirdest. And you think they look creepy as little girls? Man, do they look creepy as young adults?
So they don't look like that fan art where they. I don't know if you've seen the fan art, but
I don't know.
It's like they went realistic with them, and it's like
no, it's not. They're
realistic.
They still have no fingers and really big eyes and no noses. And but they're just taller and wearing pants and midriff-bearing shirts and stuff, and more makeup. Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of a funny episode because they keep remembering things that never happened. There's actually, if you've seen the Clerks animated series, which unfortunately lasted for 6 episodes, and I think they only aired like 2 or 3 of them out of order. The second episode is actually a recap episode, but the joke is that this is only the second episode, so they keep referring back to the same damn thing. They're like, "Hey, remember the time we did this?" It's like, but they also do the thing where they start remembering episodes that never happened because there's only been one prior episode. Anyway, so let us get on with the show. And the first topic of note, of course, is this week's poll. We talked last week about Electronic Arts shutting down Maxis, the studio behind The Sims and SimCity, which is something that EA does a lot. So this week's poll asked, which studio will Electronic Arts close next? And we had 244 people respond to the poll. 16% said BioWare, 20% said Criterion, 12% said DICE, 36% said Visceral, 9% said Other, and 7%, bless you all, said everyone else is safe, there will be no more closures. So Visceral wins with 36% of the vote, 88 votes in total, followed by Criterion, then BioWare, and DICE. I find it kind of interesting. BioWare to me seems like the safest out of all of them. Their properties, there are some people who are very critical of Dragon Age 2, and a lot of people didn't like the ending of Mass Effect 3, but Dragon Age 3, or, well, I don't think it's... Dragon Age Inquisition was a huge hit. The Mass Effect trilogy as a whole was a huge hit. Everyone's looking forward to Mass Effect 4, so I don't think... Even though Star Wars The Old Republic isn't killing WoW, let's say. I don't think BioWare is in any...
Is it killing EverQuest right now?
Yeah.
The first EverQuest?
Yeah. So, Yeah, I think BioWare's fine. My vote was for Visceral, and it's because they're the team responsible for Dead Space, which we haven't seen an entry in for a while because Dead Space 1, people really liked. Dead
Yeah.
Space 2, people still generally liked. Dead Space 3, they threw in a bunch of EA microtransaction crap that everyone friggin' hated,
Hmm.
and we haven't heard anything about a Dead Space since. And Visceral's the lead developer on Battlefield Hardline, which surprisingly is not doesn't seem to be looked forward to as much as you would think a Battlefield game would be. So
Yeah.
I think if anyone is up next, if Battlefield does not underperforms by EA's standards, I think Visceral could be the next one. Uh,
Yeah, that seems to be the general idea, just based on the comments in the article we posted.
mhm.
The poll article. Yeah, that seems to be what everybody was getting at. Is that Visceral just hasn't really done anything of note with any of its franchises in the past few years. And it's like nobody really cares for what they're doing. And then following on that is Criterion, which does the Burnout series and
Or did. I don't think there's been a
or did,
Burnout
I don't
series in
know.
years.
Oh yeah, Papa Midnight. He says that you know a Burnout, but Burnout Paradise, which was released in 2008, and so yeah, it's just they aren't doing anything really useful. But I think Criterion might be a little safer because that's the only studio that's really experienced in the racing genre, so maybe that will keep them around. But still, it's just it's like, what else are they doing? I'm trying to remember exactly what I voted for because I'm not too familiar with a lot of these studios myself. Dice and BioWare are the only ones that I could really name, like actually name as
Hmm.
EA owned studios. And I think I might have picked BioWare just because I think maybe EA will flip out and do its old thing where it will force the studio to do a bunch of stupid crap in its games. Take a really good game idea, do a bunch of stupid crap in it, destroy it, and the game will bomb, and then BioWare is going to close. That's what that's probably why I picked BioWare, because I'm afraid that EA will pull a bullfrog on them.
Mm. Old School in the chat has an interesting suggestion about why Hardline isn't perhaps as anticipated as one might expect a Battlefield game to be, and says Hardline doesn't seem like a full-blown release with a number next to it, kind of like Guitar Hero Aerosmith. That might be it. You see, studios, numbers are important because otherwise it feels like just kind of like a little side story thing that we don't need to bother with.
Come on, Guitar Hero Aerosmith. Come on, who doesn't want to be Aerosmith? Now Aerosmith was my favorite band when I was in high school, and I never bought Guitar Hero Aerosmith just because they're which one was it? The stupid album with the Pink song on it. I can't remember, something with cats. Um, the album had something to do with cats, but yeah, it was like they released that album. That album was just terrible, and I was like, yeah, I'm done with Aerosmith. but but yeah, but Hardline, it, I'm not a big shooter fan, but I'm also an advocate against police brutality and militarization of the police and stuff, and so Hardline just has like negative appeal for me. It already had zero appeal because it was a first person shooter, and because it took on the police theme and really like militarized it. That like that took my interest to the negative levels, and so
Well,
I will actively pay people not to buy that game if it comes to it.
what
Not really. I'm not going to pay anybody.
what Visceral Dice and EA should do is sarcasm incoming, by the way, is add a third faction in it. So you have cops, you have the robbers, and you also have the angry, violent protesters who are organizing in the street and raising Joe's shoe store and you know. I want to play as the angry protester who throws rocks and stuff. That would go over great.
But funny you mentioned that. I'm trying to remember what the game was called, but it was a game that was released a while back. But you were supposed to have like 64 people being able to play in this game at once, or something obscene like that.
That was the last Battlefield one.
No, it wasn't a Battlefield game. It was some other game. But
Battlefield 4, I think, had that whole 64 thing going on.
Yeah, but it was a different game. It was a game that was supposed to take, it was three military contractors were basically in a war with each other, to win contracts with nations and stuff. It's really stupid, but there was three factions. One was your typical military, type people. What you would see the military use today.
Mm-hmm.
Another faction was a more high tech type guys, where they use state of the art weaponry like rail guns and things like that. And then they kept the third faction under wraps forever, and it's like teasing everybody. I was like, the entire time I was like, the entire time they were teasing this out, I was like, they need to make that last group a non-lethal group. It's like make all their stuff non-lethal, and they immobilize and knock out the people they're fighting and stuff, but they don't actually kill them. But no, they turned them into some guerrilla guys, guerrilla warfare style guys, and it was just where they used just piecemeal stuff, and I was like, that's stupid. They could have done something cool with non-lethal stuff, but no, they went some stupid route with guerrilla warfare guys. But yeah, I forget what the game is called, and nobody played it when it came out, so it failed pretty hard. But yeah.
Old school suggests Battlefield Ferguson.
Oh,
topical.
Man. There we go.
Quick deviation here. Hello, Billy88. Hello, Ahan Axel and AG Dugod over on the YouTube page. Nice of you guys to show up. Matthew asked, was it PlanetSide 2?
No, it wasn't PlanetSide 2.
I thought at first you might have been talking about MAG, which was
MAG. I think is what. I think it was MAG.
Was it? Oh, okay.
I think so.
Because I think that was supposed to be like 128 or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, thank you all.
I would have to double check, but yeah, MAG sounds right.
Yeah. So thank you all for participating in the poll. I will try and have more poll goodness up a little earlier in the week, but I'm dealing with a lot of crap right now, and I get busy.
Yeah, definitely MAG, because I've got the three factions of guys. So.
Yeah, here's my beautiful 405 square feet of bliss right here, 72 square feet of which is my balcony. I'm going to have to move. They are raising my rent $150 per month.
Wow.
So needless to say, I'm not paying $13.30 a month, not including utilities, for this little studio apartment. So
yeah, I wouldn't do that either.
Yeah, I'm going to.
It's more than I'm paying for my 5-bedroom house here in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Oh, MAG was $256. Okay.
Yeah.
So in addition to that, I did my taxes this afternoon, and that cost me $900. Both the filing fees and what I owe federal and state. That makes me unhappy.
Now, do you?
Damn my 1099s.
Now, when you're with your taxes with your employer, do you have it to where they're taking as little out as possible, or of your paychecks, or? No,
it's the maximum because they match that to my 401k.
Okay, well, that's a clever way of getting people to pay their taxes and that. But
yeah, the problem is the the money I make from my freelance work is all 1099-MISC. Um, so that's, I report all that stuff at the end of the year, and the government's like, give it here, we need our cut.
Yeah.
So I usually end up owing $800 to $1,000. One year was even more. I think it was like 1,500, all told. So.
Yeah. See, when I every year or two, I'll revisit my W-4, and my wife and I will sit down and we get out these tax calculators. It's like, okay, this is my yearly income, and this is like my 401k that comes out because that's pre-tax, and then I'll fiddle with the number of deductions or that we're allowed to do on the W-4 until I find the one that takes the least amount of money out of my paycheck, and then I just stick that in there, and then I worry about the taxes at tax time, because it's better for me to earn interest on that money than the government to earn that interest on that money and then give me back what
right.
Everything else.
Right. So anyway, let us move on to a new topic, which is, drumroll please, Turkey Minecraft. Right. Okay. So back in February, let's see, where is it? Okay. So back in February, we reported that the Turkish government might be investigating violence in Minecraft. Essentially, some Turkish website had asked a family and policies minister about concerns of Minecraft, and the person that was asked said, we will examine the game and see if there's an element of violence, and that could result in a ban. And it was pretty clear that neither the person asking the question or the person answering the question had probably ever heard of Minecraft before. But earlier this month, it was reported in some Turkish papers that the Family and Social Policies Ministry is recommending that Minecraft be banned because you can kill hostile creatures in the game, which makes the game based on violence. Also, children could confuse the in-game world with the real world, and they might start torturing small cactus creatures or small animals without understanding the pain they are inflicting, and they may become isolated from reality. Don't know where the hell they're getting all that stuff, but that apparently was running around papers in a language that I couldn't read. Thanks, Google. Anyway, so Mojang, the company that does Minecraft, issued a statement saying, many enjoy the creative... Let me skip to the end. If people find this level of fantasy conflict upsetting, we would encourage them to play in creative mode or to enable the peaceful setting. Both of these options will prevent monsters from appearing in the world. So in other words, there are already settings if the violence bothers you, and really the violence in Minecraft is bothersome to you. Does Turkey have no other video games? What's going on here?
Yeah.
And then the next day, a diplomat in the D.C. Turkey embassy, the Turkish embassy in D.C., said a ban is quite out of the question. There will be no ban. The game is not banned and is not going to be banned. The Family and Social Policy Ministry does not have that kind of authority to ban any product. I understand this is what has been said in Turkish media, but it is incorrect. The interesting thing, though, is that he says that the ministry can only work with complaints. In this case, I am told there were numerous complaints from parents about Minecraft and its influence on children. The function of this ministry is to raise awareness. If there is a mode in which it can just be used to work peacefully and creatively, then that will be the only version they would want. Which sounds to me like Turkey may recommend that Microsoft
now.
To give them a version of the game that only includes that mode, because a couple parents, and I don't know how many it is, but a couple parents are like, we don't like it. Which leads me to the question is, why does their opinion hold more sway than people with the other opinion? Why do the no doubt majority of people who are happy with Minecraft the way it is, their opinion not matter in situations like this? It reminds me of the Halloween carnival in grade school that was canceled because one parent complained about how bad a grade school Halloween carnival was. Yeah. It's like, Why is their opinion hold more sway than every other family that attends this school? Never
Well, and
understood that.
that's the type of society we live in these days. Is that all it takes is one person to complain, and everyone else has to suffer for it. It's like take the the group of people that recalls toys, kids' toys, or any consumer product. It's like with those magnetic balls, the buckyballs. It's like they recalled and made illegal the sale of buckyballs because a handful of kids, you know. Choked on them or swallowed a couple and had to get surgery to get them removed. But compare that to the millions of other people who were using it safely and without issue. And then you gotta that was because certain people complained. But on the other hand, you have trampolines where hundreds and thousands of kids get injured on them every year, but they're still available for sale, and nobody's recalling them or trying to ban them because nobody's complaining, because a trampoline's such an old product that everybody just recognizes, oh yeah, there's a risk with trampolines. Kid gets hurt, it's because they did something stupid on the trampoline. It's not the trampoline's fault, it's the kid's fault. But then you got things like the FCC, where they'll go after a show just because the Parents Television Council decided to send form letters to the FCC about a certain television show, and then the FCC will take action. But it's just like it's always that minority, and that's what really bugged me about Australia when they were considering doing the R18 rating. They opened up comments for this for what people thought about a potential R18 rating. They got tons and tons and tons and tons of comments in favor of an R18 rating, but then they were like, because they didn't get enough of the anti-R18 ratings comments, they were like, okay, we need to listen to the silent majority, so we're going to extend the deadline for public comments so that the silent majority can share their feelings on this. And so there is that kind of back and forth and other side of the coin to this. You can either have a group that jumps whenever a minority says to, or a group that doesn't do anything because not enough people are saying something. And and personally, I would prefer groups that actually think for themselves and can look at this minority opinion and say, that sounds pretty outlandish. Maybe we should table this until we get some more complaints in a broader setting. It's like, take Turkey. It's like, okay, we had 5 parents complain because their kids spent 10 hours, a day playing Minecraft for 2 weeks, and they don't like it, so they want us to ban it. Okay, I don't think that's a credible thing. These parents just need to sit down with their kids and regulate how much time they spend on the computer rather than trying to force the government to do it.
Exactly. I mean, especially when we're talking about disposable, consumable entertainment like movies, songs, television shows, and stuff. Unless there's something happening that's hurting people, like 6 kids have drowned at the Halloween carnival, that might be a problem. Although you might want to look at get rid of the dunk tank or the bobbing for apples thing and call it a day. But it's like, okay, so a handful of people don't like this show or this video game. Don't watch it or don't play it. Everyone else likes it. It's not causing a problem or harming anything, so why do we need to make everybody else miserable? Why are we kowtowing to the very few and making everyone else miserable over something that isn't affecting anybody?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I assume Matthew is talking about where I said people should actually think about what they're doing, and he says, in government, you're kidding, right? That will never happen, and that is the sad truth, because you can see that exact thing happening with zero tolerance policies. Yeah. Oh no, a kid chewed a Pop-Tart into something that's vaguely gun shaped. We better expel him from school. What? A kid drew a gun on the margins of his papers. He's a killer. We need to expel him from school.
Yeah, and I mean,
What?
someone's imitating Fonzie going, "Hey," it's like, oh, he's got a gun. It's like, what? So,
Yeah.
all
Oh
right.
no, this 16-year-old kid has a fillet knife in his tackle box in the trunk of his car. We better expel him from school. These are the kinds of things government officials are encouraged to do. These are the decisions they're encouraged to make, or I guess I should say the non-decisions they're encouraged to make, and the government's happy to do it.
Yeah. Where are you going with that filleting knife, buddy? Fishing.
Fishing?
What do you do with that filleting knife? I fillet fish with it. What do you think? So that actually leads us fairly nicely into our next topic, which is swatting. Yes, let's talk about that lovely topic again. Oh, and yes, hello to John What's His Dough over on YouTube, who says he's here too. So hello. We had a couple swatting things this week, which culminated in a very long article from James, managing editor of Game Politics, which chronicled a lot of the swattings that we've seen over time, and how a lot of people have actually been hurt in some legitimate raids. So it's thankfully, as far as we know, the swatting that have been done as pranks, no one's been hurt yet. But being that people have been hurt in legitimate raids, it's not a stretch that if this crap keeps up, someone's going to get hurt or killed.
Yeah.
And we also had an article this week, Congresswoman Catherine Clark opined that she wants the FBI and the Department of Justice to prosecute online harassment cases, which would include swatting and things like that. So that was also a point at the end of the article that, let me see if I find it really quick. No, article's too long, I can't find it. But I think James opined something along the lines of that. It should be swatting should be a federal crime, as it is an act of terrorism. So, do you think it should be a federal crime, and do you think the FBI and DOJ should look into crimes like this and online harassment, such that we've been seeing more commonly in the past half year?
That's an interesting question, because I'm the type of person who doesn't like overcriminalization and tough on crime policies, but I think there is a certain aspect of things like this where yeah, I could definitely see a punishment being deserved, especially this. I guess when I say overcriminalization, I think more of stuff like victimless crimes. This person was speeding, so they need to get a fine. Or this person decided to smoke marijuana. It's like these are the types of victimless crimes that I consider. But swatting is not a victimless crime. There is a victim. You are hurting someone, whether it's physically, emotionally, or financially.
I imagine a bunch of crap
because
gets damaged when they kick your door off the hinge.
yeah, so yeah, there's damage and harm going along with this, and then there's the potential for a loss of life, and so yeah, I definitely think that there is a need for these to be policed more seriously. I know it's hard, especially when you've got stuff, the capability to sorry, I bumped my table there, to hide your identity and hide where you're calling from when you're making these calls. Because there's online services that you can get a number for the town that you're going to be calling the police in, and you can get a number there, but it's an all online based, and so they can't really trace it back to you as easily as if you called from a payphone or something. which are there payphones anymore? But yeah, I definitely think if they can track down who made the call, I think there needs to be a punishment. And if it has to be on the federal level, because yeah, it does cross state lines, so that would make it a federal crime. Then yeah, I think it would be appropriate to have the FBI to look into this and to make these things to have criminal consequences, because yeah, I guess I would say swatting would be the same as brandishing a firearm at somebody. If I walked up to you with a loaded gun, pointed it at your head, that would be a crime because I'm threatening your life. But if I told, somebody down the street
you said, like, well, I had no intention of actually shooting him.
Yeah, exactly. Even if I didn't have the intent to actually shoot you, I'm still threatening your life, or at least you feel that your life is threatened. But if I and the same is true if I get somebody else to hold the gun to your head, that is again, me vicariously holding a gun to your head, and calling the cops to do it is the exact same thing. And so yeah, definitely that needs to be followed through. Matthew was asking about, I guess, is getting to the idea of, just online threats. Say I'm on Twitter and I say, I'm going to rape and kill you. Is that a credible threat? And that is where things get a little trickier. And there. Because that is one of those things that very likely you're not going to follow up with. Because there was a time where in school, when I was in grade school, where I actually yelled at a kid that I was in a fight with in front of a cop that I wanted to kill him. But I was in a fight with him. It was a heated moment. I wasn't actually going to kill him. But I yelled that out. It's like, is that a credible threat? And should I be treated as if I had a knife out and up on his throat? No, it shouldn't. And so, just yelling at someone on Twitter or an email, that's probably not on the same level as if, you actually called the SWAT team on them. Or doxing, where you post online information. If I say I'm going to rape and kill you, and then I post your address with a picture of your front door on it, that puts it into the realm of credibility because, one, you've made the threat. Two, you know where they live and what their house looks like. That has bumped the credibility up several notches, several degrees.
So it's really a context thing. So, for example, the Code Avarice guy who said, I'm going to kill Gabe Newell. Gabe Newell. That was obviously some guy just losing his cool.
Yeah, losing his cool online.
So, yeah, but that gets tricky because when you write laws, you have to write it so specifically, and then you end up with people loopholing themselves around. It's like, well, technically, I didn't post where they live, or I didn't post a picture of where they live, so I can say I'm going to come to your house and rape you, so long as I don't acknowledge that I know where you actually are.
Yeah.
That you'd probably end up seeing like that. So it's a tough thing.
Yeah, it is a tough thing, and right now there are very broad laws on the books in several states, and even on the federal level, and these broad laws have been taken to a degree where if you post lyrics to a rap song, and that rap song includes words along the lines of you going to kill someone or a group of people, then you could get arrested and tried. And there actually are several cases that are in courts, have been in courts, where somebody did exactly that. They posted lyrics to a rap song and got arrested for it. And other similar cases involving school shootings, where a kid created a Counter-Strike map of his high school, and he got arrested or not, but I do know that he was at least expelled from school because he created a first-person shooter map that looked like his high school. And so, yeah, you get into this realm where you have to write these laws narrowly so that they don't get in the way of free speech, but you also have to write them strong enough where you can actually prosecute people who do something that is a credible threat. And really, when you got the types of people that I talked about earlier, where a Pop-Tart is threatening, making the decision of whether something's a credible threat or not, that's where you get into the realm of insanity, and we are where we are. And so,
a lot of people are pointing out in the comments that these type of investigations should start with the victim, or who the threat is directed, or who the threat / harassment / whatever is directed at, reporting it, rather than I guess the scenario you guys and gals are imagining is the DOJ or the FBI sitting there trolling through Twitter all day looking for stuff to pounce on, and I don't think anyone has the time or resources to do that. So I imagine it would have to be reported.
Yeah, it would have to be something that would be reported by someone. Yeah. I don't think this is going to be one of those things where you can seriously focus time and resources on finding these things yourself if you're on the police force. It has to be reported to you. And then, it should be treated. I think, we should take more care in cataloging this. If I call the police and say, hey, somebody's been sending me emails, saying they're going to kill me, and the cop should be able to at least catalog that and say, tell me that this doesn't reach the level of credible threat, but we will take a note of this, and if you send us copies of those emails, including the senders, the full headers and everything, we will catalog this and put it in a report so that we can reference it if something else happens.
Right.
I think we need to have more of that happening.
Another thing, well, let me point this out because it's funny. Matthew points out that he doesn't know why the NSA, or I'm sorry, the FBI or DOJ can't troll Twitter all day because the NSA trolls their email all day. So,
yeah.
Another thing that and Old School points out that the NSA only investigates innocent people. Just to make sure they're still innocent, you see.
Yeah.
Don't want to make sure they don't turn into bad apples. Another point that was brought up in James's editorial was the fact that police generally don't seem to understand social media, Facebook, Twitter, live streams and things like that. He even
explained
better,
that certain police departments don't understand swatting,
right?
Because they haven't experienced it themselves. It's like it's not something they've experienced. It's not something that anybody they know of have experienced. So they don't know what swatting is, and so James said that he had to actually explain to his local police department what swatting was, so that they could. So they could account for that happening, because James was afraid somebody might try swatting him. But,
hey, the 6 times your over-militarized police department has been sent to some guy's house because he was blowing stuff up and it was just some kid playing video games? That's swatting.
Yeah.
So you should know what this is by now. So yeah, I think raising, at the very least, raising awareness of what Twitter is and things like that would be at least a step in the right direction, because I have heard horror stories from a lot of people who are on the receiving end of abuse, trying to report it to their local police departments or the FBI, and the authorities they're talking to genuinely don't seem to understand what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like, well, don't use Twitter. It's like, it's my job. I have to. You can't tell me to stay offline. It's how I make a living.
Yeah, it's like that would be the same thing as saying, telling someone who's been getting harassing phone calls to
just unplug it,
not use your phone. don't use your phone, turn it off. It's like, what? How am I supposed to talk to my mother? I just had a baby. How am I supposed to talk to my mother? If you want me to turn off my phone, it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I think this. And this is really a systemic issue because, if you go back through history, even today, stalking, real life stalking, where somebody's following you home and following you to work and everywhere else you go, and they're calling you on the phone, it's like the police don't really take that seriously. They might file a report on it.
Well, you have to hide first.
Yeah, you have to have the person has to go beyond stalking to actually threatening you before the police will take it seriously. And and the thing is with online interactions is that it's so easy to skip the steps from general stalking to harassment and staying anonymous that people just jump to harassment. And then it becomes, harassment / stalking from then on, and people, it's so easy to create a new Twitter account when your old one gets, banned, and you just keep that cycle going, and it's a lot harder to deal with this kind of stuff nowadays, and because you have that systemic issue of police not knowing how to deal with this type of behavior, it's probably gonna get worse before it gets any better, and at least that's the way I feel.
Yeah.
But yeah, but again, it goes back to that the jerkwad theory, where normal person plus anonymity turns them into a jerkwad.
I'm looking at the comments, and I don't. There are opinions against some type of computer algorithm figuring out what is harassment and what is not. Yeah, I don't think anyone could actually write something.
You can't. That's like asking Google to block all of infringing content from their search results, because there's zero way you could write a computerized algorithm that can tell the difference between Sony's upload of Spider-Man 2 versus Joe Blow's anonymous upload of Spider-Man 2. There's no way to physically tell it, to heuristically determine, tell the difference between those two files. And the same thing between, somebody actually saying, I'm going to rape and kill you, versus somebody quoting someone saying, I'm going to rape and kill you. You can't tell the difference between those two statements if you're writing a heuristic algorithm.
Yeah.
Although it's just not possible.
Yeah, although I did read a science paper last month, I think, where Google network technicians, scientists, people are working on a way to upgrade Google's search results such that it figures out which news sites are more reputable than others, or are more factual than others, filter those to the top. So you might see, legitimate news source above something like, a tabloid crap.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if that actually worked, that would be pretty cool. But that seems very subjective to me.
Mm-hmm.
But
well,
it's
like
an idea.
But going back to that, say local blog breaks a story, and then major news source picks up the story, and then major news source gets placed higher in the search results than the person who actually broke the story. It's like, that doesn't seem right to me.
Well, I mean, it's just a paper looking into that. It's not something that it's implementing, and it's but it's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
It's something that's being looked
It's an interesting thought. And then Old School brings, we're talking about algorithms. Old School brings up YouTube and their content ID system as an example of an accurate and reliable heuristic algorithm. And Of course he's joking.
Well, I mean, it's YouTube recommends you watch this algorithm is spot on because YouTube is recommending my own videos, so it knows what I like.
YouTube keeps recommending videos that I've already seen, and it's like I'll watch one
Watch it
video
again.
with Dragon Ball Z in it, and then all of a sudden my entire what to watch is filled with Dragon Ball Z clips, and I'm like, why? It's like one video out of the 20 million videos I've watched on YouTube, and suddenly I should watch nothing but Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah. So, speaking of internet harassment, just a small fun anecdote. I got roped into a conversation last night by people I don't know, but someone out there in the Twitterverse in the middle of a conversation said, "You just reminded me about game politics and the ECA. Andrew Eisen should be ashamed to call himself a consumer advocate." And I'm like,
What?
when have I ever called myself a consumer advocate? I mean, I am a consumer. I guess I advocate for my own rights in that regard, but I mean that's kind of like, I've never called myself a freedom fighter, although I would certainly fight for various freedoms, but I've never fought in a war or anything, so I'd never used that title. And I asked, and I said, what exactly am I supposed to be ashamed of? Never heard back. And I find that happens to me a lot on Twitter, where someone will, well, not a lot, but occasionally someone will, call me out on something. You should be ashamed for this, or you said mean things about stuff, or you lied about everything. And then I'll say, what specifically are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And crickets. And it's like,
yeah, I've had those exact same experiences, especially when and really I never had as many of these experiences until Gamergate broke out, and then you had all these people who were watching game politics like a hawk, and they were like taking every shout that I posted and every comment that I made and taking snapshots of it all and cataloging it and stuff, and they're like, you should be ashamed of this. It's like, and I've had those exact same experiences where I asked directly. It's like, okay, exactly what did I say that means what you said I said? And they never get back to you because they don't actually have that. They have these quotes that have gone through the telephone game to become what they say it is, but yeah, they don't have the proof that we actually said something like that, and it's really annoying. And I like dealing in proof. I like saying, if you're going to say that somebody said something, you better have a link directly to where they said it.
yeah.
Screenshots do not cut it for me, especially if it's a screenshot of a Twitter or Facebook post, because those things are super easy to fake. There are templates out there, Photoshop templates, GIMP templates, where you could just download this template, paste somebody's Twitter icon in there, and put whatever date you want on there and whatever you want them to say, and it will, and you could create an image and say, yeah, this person posted this and then deleted the comment. It's like, there's no proof of it now. If you have a reliable source like an Internet Archive link to this, I will take that as a reliable source. But you posting an image just doesn't cut it for me.
Yeah. ENT91 says, I am a passively active consumer advocate. And Old School says, oh, you know what you said. Well, I can admit that I am completely ashamed of my absolute inability to properly fold a dress shirt. That is one of my great shames, which is why I hang all of them up in the closet, because I can't fold worth a damn. Now, I retell this little anecdote because I think it's funny. This isn't harassment. This isn't something I would report to the FBI or anything. And I'm sure this person has got some specific grievance against me. Although it does make me wonder, why would you loop me into this thing if you didn't want to talk to me?
Yeah.
That seems kind of odd to me. I mean, just leave off the @ symbol, and I never would have known about it. But yeah.
Yeah, that's
So,
why I never put the hashtag when I talk about Gamergate, because I'm tired of the the inevitable "you're wrong" and blah blah
yeah.
blah, and then 5 comments into the back and forth with these people, it devolves into Sarkeesian or Zoe Quinn or something, and I'm tired of that.
Well, I don't talk about Gamergate because Gamergate doesn't mean anything specific enough, because so many different people have different in Gamergate have different views and things that they hold important, that talking about Gamergate it is impossible because it doesn't mean a specific thing. So when I talk about stuff, I just talk about specific things, like specific articles or specific people or specific interactions or games or whatever. But let us move on to the last topic, which is less a topic and more something I just wanted to get off my chest here, and that is petitions.
It's not a shirt, guys.
Yeah. Specifically, change.org type petitions. Game Politics reported on this earlier in the week. There's a petition for remaster Modern Warfare 2 for next-gen consoles. And, okay. And it's reached, 151,000 people have signed this sucker. But what gets me, and the point I wanted to make is, if there is something that drives you, something that you are passionate about, something that you want to change so badly that you want to write a petition and get people to sign it to make the world a better place, why don't you proofread the damn thing before you post it? Because this Modern Warfare 2 petition, like so many before it, is just sloppily written. It's not well constructed. It's not. Let me read it to you. I speak for everyone when I say that Modern Warfare 2 was one of Activision's best game. First of all, I think it's kind of presumptuous to start out speaking for everyone, and
yeah,
that's a
especially for me. I don't
right there.
like Call of Duty games at all, and first-person shooters in general.
Yeah. Continues to say, just a fun, ampersand, enjoyable game that really gives you that nostalgia feeling. Yes, that nostalgia feeling. The guns, maps, kill streaks were just incredible. Missing an and there. At the moment, MW2, lowercase, all lowercase, for the PS3, all lowercase, ampersand, Xbox, lowercase, is just overrun by hackers. If they remaster the game, comma splice, ampersand, sort a couple things out, parentheses, e.g., missing a period, noob tubing, end parentheses, it would make a lot of people happy. I mean, congratulations that you've hit on a topic that a bunch of people are passionate about, because over 150,000 people have signed this thing, and that's great. I have nothing against a desire for a remake of Modern Warfare 2. I am just tired of seeing these crappily written petitions.
What's really sad is when you get stuff that's written like this on a site like the White House petition. Where the the Obama administration created a petition website, called petition.whitehouse.gov or something like that, and there's crap on there that's this level of crap. People write entire run-on sentences, which really should be like 3 paragraphs, with 3 sentences each. It's one giant run-on sentence, about this, and it's, and yeah, it drives me nuts too. And
I was going back through a couple of the petitions that we have reported on at Game Politics, and some of them are actually very well composed. It's clear that someone took a lot of time and put a lot of thought and care into the way they were presenting an argument, campaigning for something that's very important to them. But it seems like a lot of people are just using it as, I want GTA 5 on PC, send, and it's like, maybe I don't know, it might just be me. I mean, the GTA 5 petition says, because GTA is an amazing PC game and the idea of it not being on PC is a mistake. Okay.
That doesn't tell me anything.
So, well, I mean that one was assigned 728,000 times, and it is coming to PC eventually. I mean, I think August 14, or I'm sorry, April 14 is now the new PC release date for Grand Theft Auto 5. But someone actually wrote a petition for Grand Theft Auto 5 for the Wii U, and it reads, Nintendo's fans is capitalized, have always wanted a Grand Theft Auto on a Nintendo console is capitalized, comma, instead of a period. There was a Grand Theft Auto - Chinatown Wars game, capitalized game, for the DS. The DS graphic quality is capitalized for no reason, was not too good for GTA and ruined it, comma, but now they're saying they might not release GTA 5 for Wii U, period. Which all Nintendo fans, that's all capitalized, would like, since it'll be HD and open world and just what we need to lift up sales. I don't mean to be presumptuous, but this sounds like it was written by someone who's like 8 years old. and someone who, wrote it once, did not proofread it, and just hit enter. And, I'm the type of guy who...
Yeah.
In the middle of an IM, and I'll be instant messaging someone on Yahoo or Skype or something, and I'll be like, and I'll go to Merriam-Webster.com and check the spelling on something. I am that guy, So maybe I just put too much stock in properly presenting something written. I mean, I make typos, of course I do, but, I always try to, and 91 says Nintendo fans are all about HD. It's just something that bugs me. I think one of the, let's get into something really controversial. Are you familiar with Mark Kern's petition?
No, I'm not.
Mark Kern, who is...
I might be familiar with it if you describe it.
Mark Kern is a game developer who, before this, I'd never heard of, but wrote a petition which is not tracking very well. It's been around for a month and only has 3,500 signatures, but it says, lead the way in healing the rift in video games. Okay. And I read it, and it's not particularly well written. I mean, it's not obnoxiously poorly written. There are some typos, there's some formatting and grammar issues, but the biggest problem I have with it is it doesn't really make any damn sense. It's incredibly vague, and you finish it, and you're not really sure exactly what it is he's petitioning for. I mean, he's generally asking Polygon and Kotaku to make the world a better place somehow. It is the...
Interesting. Okay, I think I'm slightly familiar with this one, but yeah.
And it seems like the general idea is there is a lot of nastiness on the internet right now. There's a bunch of gamers who feel like who are angry at journalists, and journalists seem to be mad at gamers. Kotaku and Polygon, stop doing what you did, which he doesn't specify why he's singling out Kotaku or Polygon or what exactly they did to cause this problem. And heal the rift between games. It's like, he doesn't actually say what exactly he wants Kotaku and Polygon to do. It is the weirdest petition. I mean, I like the idea of, peace, brotherly love, and, make the world a better place. That's a good thing, but, man, his approach is like, I don't know what you're asking, man. I mean, some of it reads as if he's blaming Kotaku and Polygon for that SVU, the Law and Order SVU episode intimidation game.
Okay.
Doesn't
Why
maybe
blame
he's not.
those?
Yeah, maybe he's
Yeah.
not doing that, but it kind of comes off that way, which makes no sense. So you start
Hmm.
wondering if that's actually what he meant. Um, and in some ways, it reads as make the world a bit. One interpretation could be stop reporting on bad stuff, and the world will be a nicer place. I guess maybe. It's weird. And what I've found reading a lot of stuff from Mark Kern over the last month is the man is not a very good writer. Just
Yeah.
as a form of written communication, the man does not communicate in writing very well. I've read a lot of his stuff, so hopefully whatever he does, it's not writing, because man, does he. I have no idea what the hell he's talking about. He's incredibly vague and non-specific about the things that he's passionate about, which makes it impossible to engage him or talk to him or figure out what the hell he wants. So, in conclusion, if you're passionate about something, hey, that's great, and you want to write a petition, hey, that's great too. But if you recognize that you are not a very good writer, that's okay. We all start somewhere. Find someone who is to proofread your damn petition before you hit send. Or
Yeah.
I think they're editable, so at least correct the damn thing after you've written it. But then
Yeah.
again, I mean, if something really horribly written can still garner 700,000 signatures, does it matter? I guess it
Yeah.
doesn't.
I guess it doesn't, but I'm with you there. If you're passionate about something, take 5 minutes to proofread it, or ask somebody else to proofread it, because it'll probably go over a lot better if you do.
Yeah.
Because I really hate that kind of stuff, and it happens everywhere, and really there's not a lot you can do about it, unfortunately, because there are a lot of people out there who don't know how to write and don't care that they don't know how to write.
It's email and instant messaging and texting on phones, man. It's killing our language because people don't care anymore.
Yeah.
I always make sure to the best of my limited ability, try and make sure my grammar and spelling and punctuation is all correct in my instant messages and forum posts and Twitters.
Yeah. Well, it's like, even myself, I'll write something in the shout box on Game Politics, and then like 10 minutes later I'll come back and I'm like, why in the world did what? And I'll edit it, because I have the ability to edit my comments, and
That's
I think everybody does. But yeah, I'll go back and I'll edit my thing, and I was like, okay, fix this word, change this word to this. I'll keep the actual, what I said true, but I fix all the stupid grammar errors that I introduced when I originally wrote it. And I do the same thing on Facebook and Twitter. You can't edit tweets, unfortunately. So
yeah, I've deleted tweets and reposted them because I made a spelling boo-boo. Someone was seemingly, I don't want to accuse them of this, but seemingly admonishing me for writing an article on Game Politics a little while ago. Late last year, we reported that Zoe Quinn was doing the keynote address at somewhere she was doing a keynote address. And I followed that up a couple months later. I found a video of her address. So I wrote a short story saying, hey, remember her doing a keynote? Here's the video so you can watch it and see what you think. I'm not sure exactly why I was being admonished for that particular article, but whatever. Maybe I wasn't.
Because you were supporting unethical journalistic behavior because you posted that.
I don't know how. She's not a journalist. But okay.
Well, that's the excuse. It's unethical journalistic behavior to talk about Zoe Quinn in anything that's not a negative light.
Well, I wasn't negative or positive. It was the reason I posted it is because the comment section in the original article was, she shouldn't be a keynote speaker because one of two reasons: someone's going to threaten to blow the place up, or she has nothing into. Why would she as an indie game developer, have anything interesting to say about whatever her topic was. Because the topic was like, does Zoe Quinn have anything interesting to say about that topic? I mean, that it would be like, me giving a speech on cars, something I know nothing about. So the reason I posted the video was, it's like, no bomb threats, but does she have anything interesting to say about the topic? Here's the video. You can watch it and see for yourself if she does or does not. I didn't have an hour, so I haven't watched it, so I have no idea. But I don't know. But yeah. So I think we are good. Anything you want to add before we sign off?
No, I think we're good.
Yeah, Old School says good grammar is not cool. And Matthew wonders why anyone would turn off spell check. Yeah, I know. Most browsers will actually correct you as you type in various web forms, like comment sections and forum posts. You know that little red underline that some of your words get? That means you spelled it wrong. Right-click, and it usually pulls up a menu of suggested corrections. There is no excuse for this. So
I think the thing with phones, though, because Old School mentions they turn it off on their phones. I think the problem with that is that a lot of times it will pull it'll try to autocorrect your misspelling and put the absolute wrong word in there. Like you want to write penile system, and end up with penis system because you misspelled penile, and it thinks, oh, you're wanting to write penis. It's like, that's not what I wanted to write.
Well,
and
actually,
people
exactly
don't.
What I want to write, but I'm talking to someone with very delicate ears, so.
Yeah, but yeah, a lot of time, a lot of things, there's whole websites dedicated to to iPhone autocorrects, and and yeah, it's crazy, and people hate it, and that's why they turn it off. It's not because they don't want their bad grammar corrected. It's that they don't want the wrong words being entered into there.
Yeah, if there's a wrong word or a spelling mistake, I want it to be mine, not Apple's. One last thing before we go. There's a guy on YouTube, I think his name is Jonathan Mann. He does a song a day, which, as a musician myself, that is friggin' incredible.
That's dedication.
They're actually incredibly complex and well done for obviously only spending a couple of hours on them, because I imagine that's not can't be the only thing he does with his life. But anyway, there's a song he does that is him basically using the phone's what it thinks your next word is. So if you write I, it will say, you probably are going to say am or will or something else. So he creates an entire song out of just hammering on what the next word is going to be. At least the lyrics to his song are just the auto type ahead of a phone. You'd have to see it, and no, I don't have a link, but it's pretty damn
interesting.
It's clever. It's not like I'm going to listen to this song forever, but it was. Just really.
That reminds me of something else where somebody did a video where they went through the alphabet and answered the questions. Like, they went on Google search and they typed in what's the difference between, and then they just went through the alphabet and pulled the first list, the first auto complete suggestion, and answered that question. And so it's like, with A, it'd be, what's the difference between apples and oranges, and continued on like that. And he actually answered, there was a couple that he was stumped on because they were like technical terms, like that he wasn't familiar with, but most of them were pretty.
Transmogrification. It's like, well, what? I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it when people do stuff like that, because they're using the quirks of technology to make interesting and educational and informative videos and stuff. That's cool. I like that.
Yep. All right, so let us plug our stuff and get out of here. So, Andrew Eisen here, E-I-S-E-N is how you spell the last name. Plug it into YouTube and you'll find my silly YouTube videos. Just posted one I did with my sister about the things we hate that everyone else loves. And I'll soon be posting the things we love that everybody else hates. I'm editing that video this weekend, so should have it up maybe tomorrow or sometime during the week. Twitter at Andrew Eisen, and on Facebook, Andrew Eisen YouTube. So, and I recently passed the 1 million views mark on my YouTube channel. Now that's all 200 of my videos over the last 3.5 years together are over 1 million views now. And
Well, that's still a pretty significant
Yeah,
milestone.
it's a fun milestone. So, so yay me! I'll probably.
Yeah. I think I have like 2,000 views on my channel.
Yeah.
But
What's interesting is I think 5 of my videos are nearly half of those views. Because the Nintendo "Why Won't You Let Me Give You My Money" video, the first one I did, is I think 156,000 views. And then there's a walkthrough of one of the levels of Lego Batman 2 that's 152,000 views. So that's 300,000 right there. And then I have a couple in the 50s and 60s. So
yeah.
Old School says,
I love
my
bacon. Videos are in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah. Old School says, I love bacon. I guess you saw my video. My sister doesn't like bacon. How dare she call herself an American?
Aunt loves chickens, and I love bacon and eggs, and chicken cordon bleu.
Chicken cordon bleu. Also, someone I keep getting requests to do Let's Plays, and I wish I could, because maybe I'd be at like a humongous success and make more than $8 a month in ad revenue. That would be awesome. But
yeah, the thing with Let's Plays is you got to do something entertaining, and I really, really liked your postal video where you talked about the EMA ruling.
Yeah.
That was a really good video. And,
I'm proud of that one. It took me 3 weeks to do that 20-minute video.
Exactly.
So if I could do this full time, I'd have the time to do stuff like that, but I really just don't, which is a damn shame, because I would like to. It's surprising until you produce your own content, you don't realize how damn time consuming and complicated a lot of this stuff is. And Let's Plays are very time consuming.
For a few years, I've wanted to produce a mock commercial, for ballot access reform in Oklahoma, where new political parties can form and put their candidates on the ballot. And I've wanted to do a couple of mock commercials for that. And I'm just like, I write the scripts, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna have time to film this and edit it. Sorry. I get to that point, and I'm like, yeah, I envy Andrew and his extra time that he has every now and then to do these kind of things.
My extra time is like my lunch break at work. I'm working on the video I've been talking about for a while. My favorite thing about Anita Sarkeesian's Tropes versus Women videos, and I actually wrote. I'm pretty much done with the script. Oh God, it's way too long. I really need to pare that thing down to a reasonable length. Man, oh man, that one is just too damn long. Because I tend to just dump everything and then try and condense it down. And the problem is there's a lot of interesting and fun things to talk about, but the intro is almost too long. I mean, the intro ended up being almost half of the video because I had a lot of things to say. But Ian T91 says, if there's two things America needs more of, it's lawyers and Let's Plays. Can you imagine? and silly cat videos.
Yeah.
So that's what we should do. That's what I should do. Is I should get a cat and have it do Let's Plays.
Yeah.
That would be big.
Yeah. But the thing with Let's Plays, if you want to be successful, you either have to have a really, really good personality, something that people will want to listen to you as you play a game, regardless of the game, or you have to have.
How that explains PewDiePie, though.
Yeah, or you have to have a really good niche that people like, and or a combination of the two. And I have a pretty good niche, but it doesn't produce enough content for me on a regular basis in order for that to be useful. Plus, it's the games that I would do are on a variety of different platforms, which means that I would have to get all kinds of equipment and software to be able to do this. And I'm speaking of games made by Oklahoma developers. A lot of them are on the PC, but there's a lot of mobile games, and there's a lot of games specifically for Windows that I can't get properly running under Linux, which is what I use primarily. And so it's just like, like I've got a really good screen recorder for Linux that's free and it works just fine, but I found a free screen recorder for Windows, but I can't get it to where it records the video in any decent frame rate.
Mm-hmm.
It is so choppy and terrible. I'm like, there's no way I could use this for a Let's Play.
Yeah.
So
One of the things I'd really like to do is do Let's Plays, maybe abbreviated Let's Plays, maybe not the entire thing, but at least Let's Plays as in let's take a look at controversial games. Similar to what I did with Postal 2, because that was a hugely controversial game for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'd like to take a look at these controversial games and see what they're really about. Like, I'd like to take a look at Hatred. Maybe even some older stuff like Rapeplay or something. Actually take a look at what these things actually are, rather than what the Jack Thompsons of the world say they are. Or at least look at some of the obnoxious, spurious crap that people have said about video games, or at least like specific sections of video games, and analyze that section and see how it actually works. For example, I recall Thompson saying something about in Vice City or one of the GTA games, you can when you run people over, you can hear their skull crunch under the tire, and the controller vibrates or something like that. I'm like, I'm pretty sure the game doesn't do that, because once you hit people, I think it clips straight through them, so there's no head crunching, and the controller doesn't rumble when you drive over people. It rumbles when you hit things, like maybe pedestrians, but certainly walls and things.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that. It's actually okay. This is what people are saying. Let's take a look and see what the game actually does. For example, one of the things that people were levying against Hatred was it's racist. It's predominantly black people or something like that, or it's predominantly black people and cops, so it's against black. There's hardly any white people and it's all women too, or something like that. So I might look at Hatred from that perspective. Let's take an informal look at what the cast of victim characters are in the game, and see what the gender and racial mix of all of them are. See, does it slant one way or the other, or is it a pretty even mix of different things? So those are things I would really like to do, but oh man, I just don't have the time.
Yeah, something else that I would like to do. Speaking about games made by Oklahoma developers, is I would like to do interviews, voice interviews with these developers, and then overlay those interviews on gameplay footage. As I play the game, overlay the interview with them, because I think that would be fun, and I've seen that kind of stuff done before, and there's been times where somebody will do an interview and then put clips of the game in at certain points and stuff. But I think just doing the interview, having the game playing in the background of the entire interview would be fun. But again, this is like stuff that if I had time to do this, I would. I barely have time to write an article a week on my website. And so it's like, where am I going to find time to schedule an interview with these people, record the interview, play the game and record the footage, and then transpose the two, and then upload it to YouTube? That would take me way too long.
Yeah. Anti91 suggests I need a catchy YouTube nickname. Um, something like PewDiePie or something that
Total
rolls off the tongue.
Biscuit.
My sister has a lot of nicknames for me, none of them appropriate for YouTube. So if anyone has any suggestions, let me
Trying to
know.
remember, my kids have been watching a bunch of Minecraft videos lately, and I'm trying to remember the guy that they've been watching a lot lately. And he's a British fellow, and they really like this guy, and he does some really cool stuff. Oh, Stampy, that's the guy's YouTube handle.
Dampy?
Stampy. His YouTube handle is Stampy something or other. I can't remember what the rest of it is, but he goes by Stampy in the videos, and and they love this guy, and he's actually pretty entertaining. I've watched a couple of videos with him, and he downloads weird maps that people make. Like somebody made a Mario 64 in Minecraft, as well as you can make Mario 64, and so they watch. I watch that with them, and a bunch of other video. And they watch tons of these, and this guy's very entertaining, and I'm like, he's probably making a lot of money off of these Minecraft videos that he does, because he has a really good personality. Really, his voice is easy to listen to, and he's entertaining and everything. So it's like, yeah, this guy deserves whatever money he's making on YouTube, and he does more than just Minecraft though. So he does all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Someone actually compared me to vocally at least to Markiplier, something like that, who's a very popular YouTuber, Let's Player, and I agree. The man has a wonderful voice, very, very radio voice. Uh, I would say he has a better voice than mine, actually. I probably have a lower voice than his, but just in presentation and waha, it's just that kind of holy crap radio voice. And I don't really watch his stuff, but he must be doing something right because he's got more subscribers than me. Another thing is I saw someone mention is I would like to do stream some Twitch stuff because a lot of people really enjoyed it when I did that in the fall. But again, like the only time I would have to do that is like late at night on Wednesday, and it's like the worst. And I live in California, so like 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I mean, our show would probably, Super Podcast Action Committee would probably be watched by more than 12 to 20 people every week if we were at a better time. But unfortunately, it's like, well, this is the time that you and I can get together and do this. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's enough stuff. So follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and suggest a catchy YouTube nickname that will make me lots of money. Zachary, plug away.
All right, you can follow me on Twitter at EasyKnight, and you can also check out my game development work at DK_gaming on Twitter. It's divineknightgaming.com, and we're actually currently doing a little fundraiser. So we're on GoFundMe. You could go to gofundme.com/DKGBitCon, not Bitcoin, BitCon, because we're going to a convention at the end of the month, and we're just kind of raising a little extra money to help buy some swag, stickers and stuff. So if you're interested, go there and give us some money, and I'll mail you a sticker or anything else that we can get, depending on how much money you donate. But yeah, and if you're interested in the Oklahoma game development scene, I'm kind of falling behind on my reporting there. But it's OK Game Devs on Twitter, and it's okgamedev.com, and definitely some good games coming out of the state. So I'm excited for what's going on here, and I'm also excited for making a game and making games myself, which at this convention, it's Super BitCon. If you're in Oklahoma or in this area, and you want to come down, my brother and I were actually going to do a game jam over the 2-day thing, and we're going to make a complete game that Saturday and Sunday and have it playable by Sunday afternoon before the con closes. So, you should definitely come and see that. But yeah, so there you go.
All right. So, you have been listening to Super Podcast Action Committee, episode 135. We stream live every Saturday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we run a live chat, so head over to GamePolitics.com and join in, or you can do the same, or my Twitch page, because I use the Twitch chat for this. And Old School says that I should host a Did You Know Gaming episode, so go pester the Did You Know Gaming guys to, hey, get this goofball to cut his hair to host the show. My hair actually started out slicked back, but it's starting to frizz out and stick out, so that's what happens with my hair. But I keep thinking that if I let it grow long enough, it'll get heavy and it will lay down. But anyway, it'll never happen. So send us email, superpackpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter @superpackpodcast. Subscribe and rate us on iTunes, and like us on Facebook. We will be back next Saturday night, so make sure you're here too. Or you could just watch it later on YouTube. Or you could watch the audio version, which I spend a whole 15 minutes to make. So
nice.
We're still looking for a place to. I think we're still looking for a place to permanently host the shows. So we don't have an RSS of the show right now, but that will be coming back at some point in the future. We very much hope. So in the meantime, you'll have to just save them to your hard drive somewhere. Sorry about that. Anyway, have an excellent week, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. All right.